Good morning, all. To be here in this moment. Let's take a deep breath together. Just be here in this moment. Feel that presence that connects us. Yeah. Okay. So, in the 70s and 80s, I don't know about here, but in Southern California, dinner theater that featured hypnotists as entertainment was a big thing. Anybody heard of Pat Collins? She considered herself the hip hypnotist. This is what she was called, the hip hypnotist. And she was in Los Angeles, and she did these shows. And they were entertaining, they were, the kind of the jokes that she told, I don't think you could do that now. They were suggestive in more ways than one. But she seriously brought people, volunteers up from the audience and definitely put them under hypnosis. And she talked about the power of suggestion and how we could put it to work in our lives. And so I was a kid at the time. We were in San Diego, and my mom found that there was somebody in San Diego who was doing this same kind of thing. And so we went to this dinner show and with my brother and his friend who were older. And the guy brought them on stage, and they volunteered. They were like, okay, let's go. And they were hypnotized. I mean, really put under. And, the hypnotist gave them suggestions like, your arm is raising and raising and raising. You can't stop it. And it's as stiff as a board. You can't bend your arm. And everybody's arm would come up, and he would go by and try to, push it down. But it wasn't going down. And he gave them a suggestion, I think, of their seats are as hot as coals. And people were jumping up from their seats and rubbing their behinds. And then they gave them a suggestion that there was a snake, that was crawling around, chasing them all. And they were all jumping up onto their chairs and frightened and screaming. And I remember he gave a couple of them, my brother's friend was one of them, the suggestion that they were in a Broadway musical. And they were singing, belting out the song, and my brother's friend just got up there and belted out this song like there was no tomorrow. Oh, God, it was good fun. And then before he brought them out of hypnosis, he gave them a suggestion that when the band plays a specific song, that they would be compelled to come back up onto the stage and dance in this number together. And so he brought them out of hypnosis. You're feeling, rested, and go back and enjoy your dinner. So they came back to the table. We're all enjoying our dinner. The band, about a half an hour later, started playing this specific song. And my brother's friend went running up to the stage, started dancing immediately. And my brother, I remember he was just looking up, looking around, like getting a little anxious, like there was something that he forgot, he was trying to remember. And so my mom and I sort of gave him, a little more nudging. Is there a place you want to go? Do you maybe want to go back up to the stage, And so he finally got the message, and he went back up to the stage and danced along with all of the others. But, it was a lot of fun, but it really demonstrated the power of suggestion in a very tangible way. When you get someone very relaxed and open and receptive, and you give them a suggestion, it goes right into the subconscious where a lot of our behavior originates, right? Alt knows this. He's our resident hypnotist. He knows all about this. Advertisers know this, right? They bend over backwards to try to find new ways to subliminally suggest that their product is going to cure all your ills, right? And so they spend a lot of money finding the right music and the right images that evoke a certain feeling. And they have, people joyous, they're happy, they're jumping with their families, they're having a good time, so that you will buy their product that they're using or take the medication they're on or whatever, and product placement. Have you ever heard that product placement is a big industry? This is where advertisers will spend a ton of money, sometimes even partially funding the production of a film, to get the actor to hold the product or drink the Coke or wear the watch or use the, whatever, with the label kind of always, So you're not supposed to be conscious of it, but the next time next time you're shopping, you're more likely to pull that product off of the shelf and put it in your basket. Advertisers know this. That's why they're willing to spend all that money. And so, I was watching a YouTube video a couple of weeks ago that featured the winner of America's Got Talent. I don't know if any of you watched that show. I didn't watch the season, but I wanted to see who won. And it was a guy with his dog. They were doing a routine. Didn't seem to be that special, but they all liked it. And they showed the thing, and then they showed the panel, the panel of judges, and Simon Cowell was, sitting there just pleased as punch. He was so proud because I'm sure he voted for that person. And in front of him was this giant milkshake kind of tumbler plastic that had the label Sonic on it. And I'm thinking, this guy could afford like the best cup that you could get, like the bougiest cup. He could afford it. Why would he use this, plastic cup with the label Sonic? And because they're probably sponsoring the show. Well, even though I knew that, I found myself thinking, it's been a long time since I've had a milkshake. And I started craving a milkshake. I'm like, God, this really does work. The power of suggestion. It is undeniable. It's undeniable. The suggestions filter in and affect how we think, how we feel, how we behave. And there's this famous study that I want to share with you that was done in 1981. It was conducted by a Harvard professor, Ellen Langer is her name. And the study is, she took 5 men in their late 70s who had a variety of age-related illnesses, right? So maybe some difficulty moving with their stiff joints, arthritis, maybe some vision loss, maybe some hearing loss, memory, cognitive issues. One guy was actually in a wheelchair. And so the study was, they took these 5 men, and for a week, they brought them up to this converted monastery that was all converted. It was like they were sent back in time to 1959. Everything was evoked the era of 1959. So they went in, and Ed Sullivan's playing on a black and white TV, and the first satellite that was launched into orbit was played. Ooh, I'm stuck there. And Perry Como and Frank Sinatra were being played on an antique radio. And Look magazine, remember Look magazine? Somebody, right? From 1959 were all laid out on the table. And books from that era, there was nothing to suggest that it was actually 1981. Everything. It was like they were immersed in this environment from 22 years previously when they were in their mid-50s. Right? Even the staff treated them like they were younger. So, what was the result of this? At the end of the week, they all walked out taller. They all had greater manual dexterity. The guy who was in the wheelchair walked out with just a cane. Their skin was better. Their vision was better. Their hearing was better. Their memory had improved. It was just unbelievable. In fact, this article that I was reading the woman who did the study said, I didn't even want to mention this in the published study because nobody would believe me. But she said that while these guys were waiting for the bus to take them back, they got a football and spontaneously started a game of touch football. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So one of the researchers in the study, he said, health and illness are much more rooted in our minds and in our hearts and how we experience ourselves in the world than our models even begin to understand. And keep in mind, this is 1981, so this is kind of well before, any of the mind-body, stuff that we know about now. That's pretty common knowledge now. Power of suggestion, so potent in influencing our thinking, our feeling, our behavior, and apparently even our health and well-being. So the question is, what are the suggestions that you are surrounded with on a daily basis? What environment are you immersed in? And is it conducive of joy, of peace, of love, of creativity, of abundant thinking? Is it? What is playing in the background of your day-to-day life? What's playing? Just think about it for a moment. On a day-to-day basis, what is playing in the background of your day-to-day life? Now, some people I know, I'm sure none of you here, some people, you go into their houses and they have their large screen TV playing the news all day long. And sometimes the volume is, down, but the news with all of the ads, are just streaming in. Those images are streaming in. And just because you're not hearing the words, it's all subliminal stuff that filters in, constantly. I mean, is it any wonder that Americans are the most over-medicated people on the planet? It's because what is the content of most of the ads that you see, particularly in prime time and during a newscast? It's prescription drugs. Have you noticed that? It's just amazing. And so, the rates are rising. In fact, I read this report that the use of antidepressants in people over 40 has doubled in the last decade. That's pretty significant. So most people are hearing the message that life is a struggle, dotted with moments of joy. What if we heard the message that life is joy, dotted with moments of challenges that we are fully capable of working through? In fact, let's affirm that together. Life is joy, dotted with moments of challenge that I am fully capable of working through. Okay, now that you know it, we'll actually say it together. All right. Life is joy, dotted with moments of challenge that I am fully capable of working through. How's that for a message that you want to give yourself, right? That's a nice subliminal message that I want to have. Now, also the environment in which we were raised, has a large impact on the messages that we receive and that we integrate, into ourselves. Messages about who we are, what our potential is, what our place is in life, what we believe about other people. It forms a deep groove in our mind. So, is it any wonder that people who are raised with the subliminal message, and maybe sometimes not so subliminal, that their religion is the only valid one, that their way of life is the only valid way of life, and may be raised to mistrust others, be suspicious of others, fearful of others, maybe even hate others who are on the other side of the border, right? That constant message from the time you're young, that's going to show up, right, in action. Isn't that what we're seeing right now happening in the Middle East? This is what we're seeing, and it has been happening decade after decade after decade. I mean, it's just over and over and over again. This belief, this messages of fear of the other, messages of our superiority and someone else's inferiority, or our inferiority and someone else's superiority. Those get deeply embedded, and people grow up, and there you have it. There's the behavior. So that, and it creates events like we've seen that create trauma. And, they're saying now it's generational trauma. This trauma, the trauma influenced by the messages that we've heard, that they've heard the entire time, or that we, get passed down, and then the trauma continues from generation after generation. That has got to be interrupted, right? And healed. So, that's our prayer. Reverend Anna was here last week talking about that. It's not that we want to not hear the messages. We need to know what's going on, and find out really what's happening so that we know what to pray for. This is what Reverend Anna was talking about last week. So we know what to pray for. So that we, it starts with us. We sing that every Sunday. Let there be peace and let it begin with me. So it starts with us. We anchor ourselves in peace. We anchor ourselves in love. Our prayer is one of awakening. May they awaken. May both sides awaken. May we all awaken to our oneness. And we can only do what we can do right here in ourselves. And then maybe we can spread that out. Maybe we can help others. So, as the 1981 study showed us, things can be reversed, right? By reversing the messages that we receive, the subliminal messages, reversing those messages. So how do we do that? How do we reverse messages of fear and separation, or something that's unloving or disempowering or limiting? How do we reverse that? Again, we can only do it for ourselves. And what we've seen is that environment is key. So again, what is playing in the background of your life? What is playing in the background of your life? And does it contain messages of fear or separation or, fearful, anxiety-producing messages, or messages of limitation or frustration or even hopelessness? Again, it's not like we want to bury our head in the sand. We don't. By the way, ostriches don't actually bury their head in the sand. They don't do that. But it's a good metaphor, so we continue to use it. So we just want to be conscious, right? We want to know what we're taking in. We want to know what's coming in. Be conscious of it. And then balance it out. We want to balance it out a little bit. So how about we balance it out by surrounding ourselves with messages that are loving and positive and empowering? Now, certainly coming here on Sunday is a good way, right, to immerse ourselves in an environment, surround ourselves with positive, loving, open-hearted people, who are here to realize their oneness, realize the fullness of who they are. That's why we're all here, right? Is that why you're here? Yeah. And to share that with others and feel connected in the heart. What a great thing, right? That's a good thing to do. Now, the thing is, it's only 2 hours a week. It's only one morning on one day a week. So are there other, and then what's going on the other, 6 days and the Sunday afternoon? So we want to think about, maybe is there another thing that we can add, that we can incorporate, another group, another class or an event or a study group or something that can continue to where we can receive messages that are empowering and loving and supportive. Can we immerse ourselves in an environment that is nurturing and healing? How can we create that in our lives? So Dana and I last week, we went up to the Grafignino's retreat home in the mountains that is just so beautiful. I think a few of you have been there. And it's just, it's up on the top of a hill, and it's the view, mountain after mountain, is just so healing. But the space that they have created, I have to say, is just so, you walk in and you go, I just feel so connected. And Sharon has this amazing gift of creating these spaces in her house and outside that are creative and nurturing and have all the elements that she puts together in this beautiful way. And it just evokes this feeling of, I can relax, I can open my heart, I feel connected with nature, I feel connected. So it's such a gift to just be there. And how can we do that in our lives? How can we create a sanctuary that evokes healing and positive feelings and nurturing in our home, in our offices, in our spaces? You might want to think about that. How can I do that? How can I incorporate that? What if we surrounded ourselves, and I know many of you do this, with music that's either joyful and uplifting or maybe peaceful with positive messages? You have that going on in the background. Watching TV shows that are uplifting and inspiring. I think that's why Ted Lasso was such a popular show, because it was all about affirming the best in humanity, wasn't it? How many people saw Ted Lasso? And it was, people were craving that at the time because it was really at the thick of the pandemic. And it was well done, it was funny. Boy, we need another show like that. It'd be great. So think about the ways that you can incorporate positive messages that are entering your consciousness all the time. Maybe we can take a cue from hypnosis, I'll tell you, that's what the New Thought pioneers did. The pioneers of New Thought, they took a cue from hypnosis. Anton Mesmer, who was that's where we get the term mesmerism. He was, doing his work, and one of the fathers of New Thought, his name is Phineas P. Quimby. You'll have to say it like that because it's that kind of name. Phineas P. Quimby. Well, he took the lessons, and he took what Anton Mesmer was doing, and he incorporated it in his practice, and he would get people really relaxed, relaxed and open and receptive, and he would give them suggestions that were based on the spiritual truth of their being. And, okay, so this is New Thought, which begins to evolve and grow, and unity, is sprouted from that. Well, unity, you look at the 5 steps of unity prayer, the first 3 steps are all about that. Relax, right? That's the first step. We relax. We get into a meditative state. And, they say, really take some time with that, of letting go of the external world, relaxing the body, relaxing the mind, relaxing the to-do list, and get into a meditative state. And then you get into the realization. the spiritual truth of your being. You're affirming the spiritual truth of your being. So if you don't yet know about the steps of affirmative prayer, it's either on our website, or it will be soon when I put that up there. But it may already be there. I'll have to look. But that is a really powerful tool that we have to do that. And it really is a little bit, getting into that subliminal state. How about we do it before we go to sleep at night? When we're relaxing the conscious mind, we're getting into that subliminal state. We can give ourselves affirmations based on the spiritual truth of our being. I am loved, I am valuable, I am fully capable, I am here to share my gift with the world. And my divine nature is love, it's joy, it's abundance, it's fulfillment, it's creativity, it's peace. That's the spiritual truth of all of us right now. So how about we sort of reprogram, right? So it's what we're doing is that we're sort of peeling back the layer of the old programming, kind of deprogramming, and giving ourselves this spiritual truth of our being. And as you now know about the power of suggestion, that begins to show up in our thoughts and our words and our feelings and our behavior and even our health and well-being.